Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about the first direction of our combat system. Keep in mind everything you see here is still subject to change. Remember to like and subscribe, wishlist on the Epic Game Store, join our Discord to find out when the next playtest is. And to participate, it's a simple download of our demo. First, let's go over my combat goals for Ruins of Tearyn. And that first goal is that we want slow-paced combat. We want you to be able to talk and socialize during combat. This can be for comms, shot calling during combat, random chit-chat, or just being able to take a bite of food or a sip of drink while playing. Growing up with RTS games like Command & Conquer, Warcraft 3, and StarCraft, there's a concept of APM, or actions per minute. RTS games have been known as some of the highest APM games ever, even more so in the competitive scene. But with modern MMOs, during combat you're spamming buttons constantly. To argue that MMOs are getting close to the same APM as some RTS games. Maybe it's a sign of me getting a bit old, but I want to make a game that isn't inducing carpal tunnel to my players. So the core combat philosophy of Ruins of Tearyn is to be less about spamming buttons and more about making the right decisions at the right time, giving the player a lot of different options, utility, and enemy vulnerability points for the player to take advantage of. This gets into a little bit of a different design philosophy from strategy games, and you can have a slow-paced game but still be very, very intriguing. If you have a low actions per minute game, you want to transfer that over to a thoughts per minute game. The most obvious thing here is something like chess. And even though you're not moving your pieces constantly, you're preparing yourself for the next move, and the move after that, and the move after that, and the move after that. The general philosophy of our level design and enemy design in different areas is that patrols are going to be wandering the space, and those are going to be the strongest enemies of that area. And the key thing here is that you're going to have to be very environmentally aware of where those patrols are, when they're spawning, and how to react when they get there. Their whole game design purpose is to cause chaos and disrupt your group. We also want to make the game have very, very little AoE grinding. Combat in groups will largely be about team communication on target selection. Crowd control will be a key factor in combat, such as an enchanter mesmerizing a target, also known as a sleep spell, which they wake up upon taking damage. So it's key that your team's paying attention and not hitting those targets while they're slept or mesmerized. Enchanters doing this are going to be gathering a lot of threat during that time, and even healers will also be getting threat during this time while they're slept. So it's key for the tank and other DPS and healers to make sure they're monitoring their threat a lot and making sure the tank has time to build up that threat. Another key term is time to kill, which is a phrase used to express how long it takes to kill a certain enemy. In Ruins of Tearyn, it'll be a bit longer than other games or MMOs that you're used to. We'll be bringing back quite a few tactics from EverQuest to unlock the ability for skilled duos and trios to take on some of the stronger content in the game, but with a higher risk. I'll break down some of these tactics in a different video. We also want to sprinkle a little bit of survival game design into our experience. All of our foliage is lootable for different crafting recipes. These resources won't be available to gather when entering a dungeon, so you're going to want to make sure you're stocked up and prepared before going in. We also have a lot of inspiration from the show Delicious in Dungeon, and so we want you to make sure you're prepared with campfires, food, potions, and other consumables we come up with. The other thing is that we want you to have a lot of different spells to use with each class. You're going to be limited to only 8 spells. This goes back to a little bit of the EverQuest days. This gives you a lot of different options, but kind of simplifies the execution of those options. We also don't want to overwhelm players with too many buttons and keybinds, as that's pretty common in a lot of MMOs these days too. And as a very PvE focused game, there are going to be certain spells for your class that you have to actually go farm to collect them, which can come back to theory crafting new builds for each class. And on that note, we want to have a pretty solid balance for each class on like DPS targets. And if your whole class is about DPS, it's going to be very on par with every other class that's focused on just DPS. But your execution on timing and positioning and threat management, that's going to really bring the player skill value out to be more consistent over a long period of time. And having a bit of a generic approach to damage numbers allows us to really focus on just making really fun classes to play. And this finally brings us to the current implementation of our Combat 1.0. The way I like to explain this is if you think of an action combat game, and on one of your buttons you have like a 3 combo hit system. And it's kind of like a light attack, a medium attack, and a heavy attack. That is basically our system at the core, but you can mix and match all of your abilities. To start a bit simpler, Your first cast of Fireball will be just a basic direct damage. Your second cast of Fireball will be a direct damage with a burn damage over time. And your third cast of Fireball will be an area effect explosion, applying that burn over time to every target that gets hit. But then we can mix and match all of these, so we can do a blink for one combo, a damage over time burn spell for a second combo, and then the Fireball with the area effect explosion and AoE burn for the third hit. For the Cleric, you can do a fast heal for your combo 1, a heal over time for your combo 2, which amplifies your third combo the most, and that can be used on a big heal. And as you can see here, the 3 orbs at your feet represent your combo stage you're currently at. Some of these will be getting different effects during each rank, and that may change, and some might be more utility focused, and some might more just be a bigger spell of that first thing. And for the Rogue, your backstab is effectively just getting increased damage every time you have an additional combo point. And while I haven't implemented this just yet, there'll be different resource efficiency levels depending on which combo spend you use. So a combo point 1 ability might be the most mana efficient version of that spell, whereas a combo point 3 might use the most mana of that spell. But these are things I'm still kind of considering if it affects muscle memory while playing for player skill. With slower paced combat, these are the things that go back to that thoughts per minute on making sure you're thinking about which spell you use next and the pros and cons of that spell. The next part is that you have no just percent-based crit chance in Ruins of Tearyn. You're supposed to weave your auto attacks in between your spells, and that's why we have an auto attack timer at the bottom. And at a base right now, every 5 auto attacks will give you a guaranteed crit on your next ability that you use. The crit might in the future also affect different things like mana cost or whatever. Maybe it gives you an automatic 3 combo point, but these are things we're still thinking about in the future. Once again, it goes back to the idea of, oh, I can see I have a crit, and if you noticed, it kind of represents that on your combo points through them turning red, that, oh, I want to make sure I use the right spell for this crit in this opportunity of time. And the final thing that I've been loving about this kind of system right now is that I am a big person for theory crafting different builds. I love that aspect of action RPGs. And you can imagine that with each spell having basically 3 versions of it, there is so much diversity in builds that we can do. Your talents, your equipment can change different ranks of those abilities for a lot of different possibilities. And so this comes back to a little bit of my experience playing League of Legends, where you have more spells to cast with very few buttons to have to use. And that's it for this one. Remember to do the likes, the wish lists, the subscribes, all those things. Take a look for if we're online streaming. We stream development quite a bit. And also we playtest pretty regularly. And I think we'll be doing a lot more of that over February and March next month. So keep an eye out for our playtests, join our Discord server, and find out when the next one is. Love to hear your feedback in the comments below on what you think about the system, and especially come play and test it for yourself and see how it feels. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.